Hello, my name is Sid. Welcome back to my channel. I'm in high spirits today. It is the day after Christmas. My parents got me a new microphone, so I won't sound like I'm in a microwave anymore. I'm very excited for today's video. That's pretty much all I have to say. Let's just jump right into it. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe. I'll have more content like this in the future, and let's get started. I've watched the Fricket List a lot. When I don't know what to watch, I turn on the Fricket List. Folding my laundry? Time to turn on the Fricket List. Need background noise while I'm studying? The Fricket List. One time, I thought that Netflix took the movie off their database and I actually felt my heart drop into my stomach. It's my comfort movie. Yet, I will say without a shadow of a doubt that The Fricket List is one of the worst movies I have ever watched in my young adult life. And here's the thing, it's not even so bad that it's good, like my other favorite bad comfort movie, The Show.
So, theoretically, if we had a show on air where people committed suicide and wouldn't be breaking the law?
The movie is just bad. The story is objectively flawed, character development is virtually non-existent, and a majority of the dialogue is downright terrible. So, why do I watch it so much? I'll get into that and more in today's video. The Fricket List was directed by Michael Duggan, who also wrote the movie with a man named Dan McDermott. This was the first sign of trouble because neither of these men specialize in the coming-of-age genre. In fact, according to IMDb, Michael and Dan are a lot more versed in the world of action, working on projects like Eagle Eye and Miami Vice. So why they joined forces with AwesomenessTV to glue together the hellfire that is the Fricket List is beyond me. There's not much information about the creation of this movie, no interviews with directors, minimal interviews with the cast. In fact, there's only one interview on YouTube that I've come across, and if you see my comment under that video, no you didn't. The Fricket List was released on Netflix in the summer of 2020. Yup, that summer. The summer that just so happened to be the same summer I graduated from high school. When I finally let that sink in, so many things started making sense. First of all, the film's premiere was most likely canceled, hence the minimal coverage and interviews. We were only a few months into the pandemic, so all the press they had lined up hadn't adapted to our new normal. It was a vulnerable time, and we were all looking for some sorts of comfort. My comfort just happened to come in the form of a horrible movie. Honestly, I think I'm trauma bonded to the Fricket List. It sounds dramatic, but the fact that I can tell you what I was wearing and where I was when I first watched this movie only strengthens my theory. The whole experience honestly feels like yesterday. There I am in the middle of a global pandemic, wondering if I would be able to attend college in the fall like all the normal girls. And in walks Brett Blackmore. Brett Blackmore is the protagonist of our movie, played by Gossip Girl reboot's Eli Brown. The movie starts with him looking directly into our souls while his voiceover delivers an extremely off-putting monologue. The moment we're watching him in right now is allegedly about to ruin his entire life. I don't know what the intent was for this scene, but his tone and cadence reminds me of Joe from You, and when you think about it in that context, it is literally chilling. Pair that with the fact that 2 seconds later we hear a blast off screen followed by a flash of light, and you're left wondering, what did this white boy do? We're given the laziest opening title card I have ever seen in my life, and then we flash back 24 hours. Brett's home security system warns him that there's movement in his backyard, and after a few not funny seconds, we find out that the people in the backyard are his friends, and they're ready to partay. Now, I debated going into each character in this scene, but when I tell you that they're just as irrelevant as the extras when it comes to serving the plot, I mean that. Anyway, the whole point of the first 6 minutes of the movie is to establish 3 major things. Number 1, Brett is an L7 loser. He's a square. He hasn't been any fun since like 6th grade, according to Ravi from Jessie. Number 2, he has a crush on a girl named Kayla, who he's known for a while. She is the epitome of a manic pixie dream girl, and the script does not give her and Brett the chemistry needed to make their scenes remotely interesting. Their romance, or lack thereof, is insufferable. Seriously. Number 3, his friend Stacy has a thing for their other friend Clint, played by Blackish's Marcus Scribner. Now, I don't really know why this plot point even exists. I have a theory that I'll get into later, but for the time being, just remember that Stacy has a thing for Clint, and I promise I'll come back to it. The next morning, Brett's kooky parents are back in town for Ivy Day. They're expecting big things given the fact that Brett has a 4.65 GPA, national recognition for his work as a clarinet player, and got a 1590 on the SAT, which means he probably literally only missed one question. So it's really no surprise when Brett opens up acceptance after waitlist? That's right. Brett has been waitlisted by Harvard. Remember this. He's gone 7 for 8 and his parents are feeling great, but Brett wants to keep it on the DL. He doesn't want to be that guy, the guy who got into all the Ivies. But it's too late. Brett's parents have already told all their friends, the school, and the news station, and for whatever reason, the town actually cares. They announce it over the intercom, which I think is just ridiculous. Brett's over it, and he confides in Kayla for a bit. We find out that she got into her top 2 schools but can't afford it. But she's coming up with another plan that she's very secretive and irritating about, sending Brett her location and telling him to figure it out on his own. This location thing becomes a through line during the course of the movie so that Kayla can be all dark and mysterious. The nerds visit Stacy at work, and we, the audience, find out that Stacy and Clint have some sort of sex pact. So Stacy's thing for Clint is just that she wants him to hold up his part of the deal. Oh, and it's also senior prank night. Brett doesn't really want to go, but his friends tell him to stop being such a wuss and buck up. It's one night.
Come on, fuck it.
Ooh, it's the title of the movie. We also meet a homeless guy who buys lotto tickets. Remember him. That night, Brett's parents are having a dinner party to celebrate their success. No, not their son's success, their success. Dear Dumb Diaries, Laura Bell Bundy is here, and it's all just typical WASP talk. His parents are annoyed that Brett is on Harvard's waitlist, and we find out that Laura Bell Bundy's husband, Barry, is on the board at the university. Now, this is the last piece of the puzzle we need before we move into our inciting incident. This becomes very important soon. The inciting incident is upon us. Call the presses. This is where it gets crazy. It's senior prank night, officially. The nerds without Brett are in the administration building, and they're trying to hack the mainframe and change all the seniors' grades in the systems to straight A's. But the stoner surfer slacker nerd, I really can't tell which stereotype he's supposed to be. Wait, okay, real quick. What are any of these stereotypes supposed to be exactly? All of Brett's friends just feel like they're in the movie to pad runtime. Stacy's the town hoe, I guess, and Karen Brard is there. Clint is really the only one the script at least attempts to develop because he's supposed to be Brett's best friend, but all we know about him at this point in the movie is that he plays baseball and his dad gets a lot of chicks. Anyways, the stoner surfer slacker nerd wanders off and gets the gang into some shenanigans. This genius steps on a gas pipe and sets off the most absurd chain reaction in AwesomenessTV history. Chirag runs to get Brent while Clint tries to stop the gas with condoms, which... okay. And stoner slacker surfer nerd takes it upon himself to throw a chair through a window. This is bad. This is really bad. Because remember that opening scene? Yeah, the building blows up. Now, if you're like me, you're thinking, why is Brett stressed? He didn't break the windows. In fact, he had just shown up to the school when stoner slacker surfer nerd exposed them all to methane poisoning. And to that I say, I have no clue. Now, we find out later that Brett was the only person that the FBI could identify on the security camera footage, which is absurd. But regardless of that fact, Brett doesn't know this yet. So he's freaking out why. Brett could easily get out of this. All he has to do is tell the FBI that the building was already screwed by the time he pulled up to the scene. But what does he do? He admits to domestic terrorism. He tells them that he was the only one in the office and the entire thing was his idea. Why? None of it makes sense. He doesn't fight it at all. And all 7 of his Ivy acceptances pull out. His parents are furious, obviously, but he literally could not care less. He goes to Clint's house to party, and his parents don't even ground him. They let him leave the house and go to a party the same day he admits to bombing the school. His parents decide that they need to consult Barry since there's a possibility Brett could still be on Harvard's wait list. Oh, and by consult, I mean Brett's mother suggests she should sleep with Barry. Gotta love the frickin' list, man. Brett's at Clint's and they're talking about the explosion like Brett just got caught with a vape at school or something. Brett's like, you guys would have done the same for me. And can I just say, I beg to differ. Brett, they have the opportunity to do the same for you right now. They could literally go to the FBI and say, this is what really happened. We were there. Don't blame Brett. And they aren't. The entire conversation lasts 3 seconds. I'm going to try to put the whole clip here. Hopefully I don't get a strike or something. They drop the subject so fast, and then Brett spots Kayla. They're talking to each other, but I'm still mad about the scene prior. They're trying to be cute and it hurts. Before they, God forbid, kiss, Kayla has to let Brett know that she's not like other girls. She's kind of a mess. She's got baggage. It's dark. But Brett doesn't care. Then Ted pulls up. The most relevant character ever written. His whole thing is that Kayla is using him, but he believes that they're actually together. Brett goes home and he cannot stop thinking of that moment with Kayla. He's so overtaken by the fiery passion of their surface level conversation that he reaches climax. Well, the climax of the story, that is. Brett decides that now is the perfect time to have a manic episode on the internet. He's ranting about all the things he's ever wanted to do, his effortless. It's little things like skipping school and punching his teacher in the face. Anyway, he ends the video by declaring that the big thing he wants to do is fall in love and kiss his crush, Kayla Pierce, which he already did.
Oh yeah, I already did that. I did that.
He thinks he posted the list privately, but when he wakes up the next morning, all his friends are calling him to let him know that he's going viral, and he just kind of flops onto the bed to this information. Meanwhile, his dad is meeting with Barry to talk about Harvard, and the whole "you can sleep with my wife" bit happens. Honestly, it's actually a pretty funny scene. I actually like to think that this movie was constructed around this scene. Like Michael Duggan had it laying around and said, sure, let's start here. By this point, Kayla has seen Brett's video, and she reaches out to Brett to let him know that she has an effort list of her own. And it starts with kidnapping Brett and making him an accomplice in the revenge plot she's about to play on her mom's boyfriend, Steve. You see, Steve and her mom are alcoholics. That's why Kayla is so angsty. Kayla says that when her mom passes out, Steve comes looking for her, which any normal person would assume means abuse of some kind. But Kayla says that's not the case, and Steve is easy to put down when he's drunk. We never find out what Steve does to Kayla, but she says her mom told her to shut up and stop provoking him when she was 11. The whole thing is supposed to be a thing, but it's so vague and confusing that literally nobody cares. But whatever, she pulls a Carrie Underwood on Steve's car. Drunk off their success, Kayla and Brett rip off that one scene from Starstruck. Kayla reveals that falling in love is a big thing on her effort list. And do you care? 'Cause I don't. Domestic terrorist Brett sings Wild Thing and tells Kayla he's a virgin. We also find out that Kayla only entertains that freak Ted because his dad owns a modeling agency and they're sending her to Milan for the summer. Brett thinks that makes her a hoe, calling her actions morally questionable. Kayla freaks. She's all, I'm poor. You're rich. You don't understand. And then she says she can't go home after what they just did. And Brett says, did you think about that before we smashed the car? I'm sorry. We? Once again, Brett Blackmore takes responsibility for something that he was pressured into and did not actively participate in. She's mad at Brett because she thought he would sneak her into his room and he says he can't. Kayla calls him a poser and storms off like she's gonna have to work a street corner to find a place to sleep tonight. Brett and his parents have a meeting with the school principal, the Ghost Whisperer's Cameron Manheim. They want to pay Brett's way back into the school, but his video about the effortless has already sealed his fate. He will not be graduating from high school. He's gone from being accepted to almost all of the Ivies to being a high school dropout in less than a week. His parents are beyond upset, and once again, Brett could not care less. He tells the whole school to meet him at a place called The Rocks so they can carelessly start a fire in the middle of nowhere. For this next part, I need us all to reassess what we already know about Clint. Remember, Stacy has a thing for him, and it is very much one-sided. Clint plays baseball. Clint is Brett's best friend. I think that's all we know at this point. So Clint and Brett sit down, and Clint reveals that his effort list is complete. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you a few seconds. He's gay. Y'all, Clint is gay. Okay, this is where my theory from earlier comes in. I think that Stacy and Clint's thing was supposed to be some sort of hint into Clint's sexuality. A horrible one, but albeit a hint. But it's the only way I can rationalize that otherwise irrelevant plot point. Mind you, the movie doesn't flat out tell us that Clint is gay. In fact, the word gay is never used. With the information we're given, Clint could have revealed that he was a mermaid. I can tell they want it to be this pivotal moment, but the writers have taken no effort to develop his character at all. He's only gay to humanize the main character. Aren't you so amazed that our ally King Brett is going to stay friends with the gay black man? Isn't he so open-minded? As if to further this point, King Batch calls up Brett and lets us all know that Brett is blowing up on social media and he should be cashing in on that. Once again, Brett could not care less. Well, that is until his friends call him and he finds out that he has amassed over 200,000 followers, which is incredibly superficial. Anyways, remember the homeless guy from earlier? He's peeing on Brett's car and calling him names. Oh, and he knows about the effort list. Brett's dad tries to have a heart-to-heart with his son, but wait for it. Brett could not care less. What's with this kid? Is his indifference supposed to be relatable? It's not. He talks about wanting to make decisions for himself and feeling like his parents control too much of his life and da-da-da-da-da, which would be a great point if he hadn't already, blown up the school. To make matters worse, Brett's fame is leading people to commit literal crimes. So the FBI is like, make it stop. And at this point, we've moved into our falling action. We get the "you will be found" moment from Dear Evan Hansen. Everyone's talking about what's on their effort list. At Barry's office, he gets a call from Dean Riley at Harvard. For some reason, she starts comparing Brett to the likes of Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, which is fully absurd. Those people participated in the invention of the internet. All Brett Axel Weber Blackmore did was benefit from it. Another sleep-inducing Brett and Kayla scene that I think is literally there just to pad the runtime. Now, in a huge turn of events, Brett has a meeting with his essay tutor, Marheem. Harvard wants Brett to write an essay about the effort list and all he's learned. They say it's about the effort list and all he's learned, but it's really more of a you need to apologize for what you did situation. His parents are more than happy, but Brett is not thrilled by it. Shocker. He attempts to plead his case, but his parents are not with it. Again, shocker. Here's the thing. I don't understand how he's going to be able to even go to Harvard if he's no longer eligible to receive a high school diploma. I don't really know how school works, but aren't all his credits null and void at this point? Anyways, Marheem spews on about the academic industrial complex and essentially tells Brett that if he feels he's being used by the system, then he needs to exploit it. They decide his redemption essay will be an apology for all the sins he committed. At this point, all Brett has to do is write the essay. His parents are on him about it, but all Brett feels like doing is sunbathing and crashing what would have been his own graduation. His awful friends could not care less, and he literally talks to them for 2 seconds, but Kayla is back, and she's being annoying. What else is new? We find out that she's leaving for Milan tonight. Steve filed charges for the vandalism thing, so she's essentially a fugitive. I was actually shocked that Brett didn't go straight to the police and take the vandalism charges for her. The only person who even takes some sort of responsibility is Stoner Slacker's surfer nerd. He's like, I shouldn't have stepped on that pipe, but he can barely finish his sentence before Saint Brett tells him not to go there. Anyways, the homeless guy is being carried away by paramedics, and we find out that his name is Douglas E. Byer, and he was valedictorian of their high school 20 years ago. Because this movie is awful, this leads Brett to a realization. The realization that if he gets an education and studies, he could become a homeless man who pees on cars. It's a horrible plot point, but whatever. It gets us to the conclusion, I guess. He's ready to write his essay. Instead of composing a letter of contrition, Brett takes it upon himself to denounce the entire education system and tells Harvard thanks, but no thanks. More specifically, he says,
"Fuck it. Harvard's not for me. Respectfully, Brett Blackmore."
Because he's a white man, he goes to bed, and when he wakes up, everything is fine. His mom is watching him from a chair like this is Black Swan, and she delivers us the quintessential mom monologue. And all I'm thinking is Jennifer Garner would have ate this up for real. She tells Brett that she once had dreams too, and she's proud of Brett for sticking to his, and sticking it to the same system that bought him the computer he used to condemn it. King Batch is back, and he's setting up what looks like a college fair in Brett's driveway. Barry stops by to tell Brett that regardless of his letter to Harvard, they are offering him a spot in next semester's class. He has reached peak influencer. King Batch is officially Brett's representative, and what's his first order of business? Getting Brett Blackmore to Kayla Pierce. It's revealed that Kayla isn't at a modeling excursion. Homegirl is about to be pimped out to traffickers. The boss lady tells her that she literally will not be able to get out of being trafficked without a lawyer, and then somehow Brett is able to get her out of it. So because Brett is awful, he tells Harvard no to their initial offer. And because he's white, they ask him to take a scholarship. And because Brett is awful, he again tells Harvard no. And because he's a man, Harvard offers to defer Brett for a year. And because Brett is awful, he again says no. And when that doesn't work, they offer him a visiting professorship. And you know what Brett says? "I'll think about it." We don't know if he takes it or not, but hey, at least he's not a verge anymore. There's a silly "where are they now" at the end. Douglas E. Byer wins the lottery using an algorithm he created and opens up a free college. Clint's dad finds out he's gay. Stoner slacker surfer nerd becomes a plumber. Town host Stacy is studying robotics at Santa Clara. And Karen Brar boards the salt chuck. As for Brett and Kayla, well, they're falling in love and traveling from green screen to green screen. The end. This movie has an overall rating of 1.9 on Letterboxd, which is honestly more than it deserves. Now, I appreciate all the time and effort that it takes to make a movie, don't get it twisted. But when this is your end result, I start to question which M word you had in mind when you made the movie. Message or money? Do you know how much more interesting this movie would be if Brett was the one who actually started the fire? If the one time he said F it, he literally screwed up? What if the FBI had originally blamed his POC friends instead, and then Brett took the blame? There are so many ways to make this character worthy of all his brooding, and they did not try to execute any of them. It feels lazy and out of touch, but anyways, time for my 13th viewing. That's pretty much all I have to say on the movie. This movie has literally become a comfort movie for me. I don't exactly know why, but I absolutely hate that it has. It's a watch, is all I'll say. Sometimes I literally put it on just to do homework. I just need to hear it, I guess. Maybe Brett Blackmore and Stacy and Clint and Stoner Slacker Surfer Nerd and Brett's parents and their friend Barry and his wife, Laura Bell Bundy. Maybe they've all become my friends over the years. And sometimes all you need to know is that your friends are there for you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hopefully I can make more content like this in the future. And yeah, that's literally it. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.